Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Flight Lines, the stories behind the stories. And my guest this morning is Don Elwell, the chair of the County Board of Commissioners here in Highlands County. And I've known you for quite a few years when we go
It's
right back
it's
to
been a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
I first met him when he was involved with the Kenilworth. Um, but one of the things that I have a little bio here for you,
Oh,
and one of the things that I don't think there's a committee that exists that you're not a board member.
there's
But
there's quite a few.
well, it goes to show how you're involved in the community. And one of the things that I've often reflected on with you, you're like the king of the master of ceremonies. You're the master of ceremonies for Highlands County. I think for every event that ever was, you were a master of ceremonies at one point or another.
Well, there's some when I first got in, it was Rooter Rush, of course, and
Yeah.
David Flowers were kind of the ones there, and then so I kind of joined up with them, and then now there's a new breed also, the Jeremy Doherty, the Ben Roses, and so like that. So, but but the Master of Ceremonies thing is fun. It's kind of I think how a lot of people knew me originally was from different things that I
Sure.
would do. Yeah.
Well, I've been, it's been interesting to watch your career, and um, what got you into politics? How did that all happen?
Well, it was when I first got to the area, I was the general manager of the Quality Inn and Suites Conference Center. So that's what actually brought me to the area, was the owner of that facility. And so through there, I got to be kind of involved with Chamber of Commerce mixers and things like that, and the banquets
Sure.
would happen at the Quality Inn and Suites Conference Center. And so I got involved in that, and with Alan Fish, who was the chamber director many years ago, and then it went kind of beyond that. When I was involved with the chamber, I got on the chamber board, and then through emceeing different events and being on the chamber board, I just got more involved in the community. And really, I've lived in a bunch of big cities. I've lived in like Las Vegas. I've lived in West Palm Beach area. Lived in Chicago. Lived outside of Atlanta. And so, but here you can actually kind of make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not quite the big pond. So you can make a difference in a smaller pond. And so I really fell in love with the community, because there's a lot of folks that are just kind of normal, down to earth people here.
Yeah.
If you
It's
go,
one of our strengths.
yeah, if you go driving over by West Palm Beach on 995, I think
It's like a different planet.
yeah, your blood pressure goes way up, and people are just in such a hurry and just so darn rude all the time. And like I said, it's not a bad place to visit, but it's great to come back and hear, because
Well,
the quality of life is so high.
one of the things that, I've mentioned this in other podcasts, and it's worth saying again. As I've done this, and I've had a ball doing it, working with these interviews and doing them, there are two things that have come out. One is all the people that I've interviewed and the different things that we've explored, the bottom line basis foundation of it is relationships between people, and then the other thing is how friendly and how down to earth, like you just said, our community members are.
Yeah, I mean, there's always
We're
exceptions.
real people.
Yeah, it's true. And like I said, there's always exceptions to the rule, but generally people, they'll hold the door open for you. They'll push the cart back into the Publix parking lot. They'll do all the little things, or they'll thank you for holding the door for them. And there's just, it's those little do a little good things that really, I think, make the difference. And I hate to say it, in this time where we're about as polarized as I've ever seen us, it's things like that really kind of bring you back to center and teach you what's really important in life.
One of the fun things I like to do is when and I don't do it that often, but I frequent Dunkin' Donuts, and the one down here across the south one.
Yeah.
I'll pull up and I'll pay for my coffee, whatever, and I'll ask, what's going on behind me, and so I'll pay for the person behind me.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just thinking, how will it make them feel when they pull up and say, "Oh, everything's taken care of"?
That's good. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it's just those random acts of kindness that really, set your day apart from just getting so focused on everything that's happening. And you're right. We are living in a polarized country at the time. And I just hope we can start communicating and stop shouting at each other.
Well, it just, it just doesn't need to be like that. You mentioned before that, it makes you feel good when you do something good like that. And, even something small, which is amazing. And it's that small little ripple. It's that little bit of a ripple that really does make a difference because, like you said, that may have continued for an hour after you. You never know. I mean, it's kind of like starting the wave of the ball game. You never know how long that's going to go. Sometimes it goes 3-4 times around the stadium. And that's what you want to see. I mean, because it just for a minute, it takes our mind off of the evening news. It just takes our mind off of that incredible, he said, she said bickering that's going on between people within our country as well as, of course, globally. There's all kinds of conflicts, but it's just, the important thing in life, and I hate to say this because it sounds really, really kind of morbid. We're only here for like 80 years on average, sometimes longer, sometimes, a lot longer, sometimes a little shorter.
I've got 3 left.
Yeah, well, maybe, but there's extended play. It all depends on how you take care of yourself.
That's true.
You bonus time. So with that said, we're just a blip. And so why don't we just make the most out of those days?
Absolutely.
And help folks out. And I hate to say it, but we do get smarter as we get older. Or at least the perspective changes a little bit. And so,
Very much so.
Back in my 20s, I probably wouldn't have said any of the things I'm saying right now. But, as you get a little bit older, you think to yourself, all right, yeah, it really is getting that upset because some guy took that parking space from you or maybe cut you off or was really slow getting into the left-hand turn lane on 27 is just laying on the horn necessary. And sometimes it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It gives you joy. It does, but it's just unnecessary. And then to get your blood pressure up over that is just kind of this.
Well, I've found a couple things. I was having a conversation yesterday with a good friend, John McClure, and, we're about the same age. He's 1 year older than I am, but we were just talking about the types of things we're discussing right now. I'm a cancer survivor, 30 some years more now, and very fortunate to be here. They didn't think I was going to survive, but as a result of that, I don't take anything for granted, and the time that I'm here, it's a bonus. But the other thing is, the flaws that I have is that one, I don't suffer fools very well anymore, and I don't put up with BS.
Well, which is good.
And sometimes I should just hold back a little bit, but, like you were saying, I want to make the most of the time that we have here and make it as good as we can be. Because, what else are we here for?
Well, as you get older, you attend a lot more memorial services and celebrations of life than you used to. I noticed that too. Mm-hmm. And, I am so inspired by those folks that I'm attending their memorial service and not an ill word was said because there's no ill words to say. Yeah. I mean, those people are just like pillars of the community, really, really strong. And folks understand that they gave their lives to serve others.
Yeah. And they lived it better than when they
exactly. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, it really is because like I said, at the end of the day, it's faith, it's family, it's friends, it's things like that. But I mean, it's not politics. I hate to say it. It isn't. It isn't the polarizing world of politics. And at the local level, which of course is the level that I serve at, you have to think about the things that move us forward together as a community, as opposed to what do I like or what is John like or what does anybody else like. It's what is the best for the community.
Yeah.
That's
well, it's been said all politics is local.
Yeah.
And, what you're saying is, when you evaluate a decision that needs to be made or a path that needs to be charted forward, you have to qualify it by what's best for the community, not what's best for any particular interest group.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said, there's too many things out there to get really upset about. I mean, with the local level, we don't we don't handle some of the topics like, abortion or, gay marriage and things like that. That used to be, that was a little popular back a few years ago, but, we don't have those types of things. We have things like, infrastructure and roads and those, I hate to say it, but those items that really come before you every day.
Yeah.
That affect you, 5-7 days a week, as opposed to maybe some of those things that it's like, okay, that doesn't really apply to me. So I'm going to go with what's best for everybody on that one. And
well, that leads me to the next series of questions.
Sure.
What are some of the, I won't say hot topics, but what are some of the pending things that the Board of Commissioners is dealing with? I recently read about the waste management contract and all that sort of thing.
Right.
But what are some of the other things that are in the hopper that you guys are sorting through?
Well, of course, this time of year, it's budget season. So we're sorting through the budget, and this year's budget's a tough one because property values haven't gone up a lot. There hasn't been a ton of growth over the last year or so. So therefore, to keep everybody's taxes around the same, you've got to, try to lower the millage a little bit down to that what they call the rollback rate. Doesn't look like that's probably going to happen this year because we're probably going to end up holding it steady, which means that we'll probably absorb that increase in property values to try to offset some of the increases that people are asking for in their budgets, whether it's the county budget or the sheriff's budget or the clerk's budget. In our own personal lives, everything costs more.
Oh yeah,
and people are wanting more money because it costs more for them to buy the eggs and the things like that.
Break even, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, insurance is ridiculous, and benefits in general are just crazy. But so we're trying to balance the budget, and that's for this year. And of course, I'm sure you're well aware that there is this property tax reform item that's on the agenda from Tallahassee that's going to be on the ballot in November that could have a significant effect on the budgeting going forward for next year. So we need to make sure that this year is kind of in line because we don't know what's going to happen next year until after the votes.
Well, it would seem to me that the tenor of the nation right now, or at least the Florida, that, the cost of things going up. If I can save on my property taxes, I'm going to vote for it. But then again, the flip side of that is you're going to reduce the amount of resources we have to support our community and the infrastructure, and so,
it is.
Maybe now or pay me later type thing.
It does definitely look a lot better than what it is. I mean, it's one of those things where, the first year impact in Highlands County, and that we've done some calculating on it, is going to be probably somewhere around $12.8 million, that would affect the general fund. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there's not an opportunity to cut some things that are probably what I would call a little bit more fluff than others, right?
Sure.
Law enforcement, not fluff, but maybe you would say that, parks or the amount of money that we give to this organization a year might be a little bit more optional, if you will, than some of the other things. But we don't have $12.8 million there. That would be a devastating effect. Like I said, the first thing you do in your personal life is you cut expenses and you trim fat and things like that. And we'll do all that for sure. And that's the best part about this exercise is that at least allows us to do that.
Do an audit.
But going past that, unfortunately, this is a great example of politicians, and I'm guilty of it on occasion as well, but more so in the past than today, but of having a great idea, but no plan behind it. And so, not that we ever do that. I'm just saying that.
Well, no, I've seen that so much in my profession has been an educator. So seeing that with the Department of Education, that's the song they sing.
Yeah.
Do this, but, good luck trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Well, and we make all kinds of jokes like, ready, fire, aim. That sort of thing is, and jumping off a diving board before you realize the pool's closed for maintenance kind of thing. So, I mean, that's what's really happening. And it's kind of funny because it's a Republican-led Congress. It's Republican-led, or, local state Congress. It's Republican-led, Republican governor. And yet the small government at home thing is not happening. They're trying to centralize really the power in Tallahassee, which is completely opposite of what we or myself as a Republican kind of believes in the small government. So it makes it really hard because now we have to look at, you know, that was just the first year impact. I mentioned to you that this is going to be, it's $150,000 exemption the first year. The second year, when it goes to 250, that impact is north of $17 million on top of
On
the
top
12.
of the other 12.
So now we're over $30 million for the first 2 years versus what we're bringing in today. And like I said, there are some counties out there, 67 counties in Florida. There are some counties out there that can handle this because they have much higher property values and much bigger budgets, and therefore they have the ability to withstand this.
Not here.
But one size doesn't fit all, for sure. I mean, Duval County and Palm Beach County is not like Highlands or Liberty County or these, the really small
Well,
ones.
I did an interview, actually earlier this week with Andy Tuck, and he was reflecting when he was on the State Board of Education. One of the issues he discovered there was that, folks in that board, he was the only one from a rural county on the board.
Gotcha.
And he said one of his challenges was trying to help the others who were from the big cities, Tampa and other places, understand what it's like to be in a rural county.
Sure.
You
Oh,
know,
no, absolutely.
It's a different animal.
Yeah, and then that's the unfortunate part too, is that so much of what Tallahassee does, and Washington to be exact, or to be truthful, is, the whole one size fits all legislation. And they don't really take into effect, again, call that ripple effect again, of what that does to all the counties. When you're talking about 67 counties, like I said, you've got some really small ones out there, and you can't possibly compare it to Miami-Dade or Orange.
Yeah, I mean it's different. One of the let's flip back to, we kind of went on a different tack here for a moment, but
Sorry.
no, that's fine.
I do it all the time.
That's great. I mean, that's what a real conversation is all about. But when you got into politics in, I believe it was 2010, when you first got elected, and you were saying you were involved with the chambers of commerce and getting more involved into community issues, what was the trigger that said, okay, I'm going to put my hat in the ring?
There wasn't one thing, because I thought about that a million times. I was like, it wasn't like, gosh darn it, I didn't get my driveway paved, or something ridiculous like that. It wasn't anything kind of like that. It was just, it truly was. I know it sounds really corny, and I'm sorry, but it truly was. I absolutely just love this community. And I thought to myself, how can I help more than I'm doing now? How can I help it? And so you play golf, right? Don't you play golf?
I used to.
Okay. All right. So when you play golf, there are 10 to 12 times a day during the round when you want to quit golf. You don't want to play golf anymore.
That's why I quit. Yeah, I hear you.
But you hit that one shot.
Oh, yeah, it's sweet.
And it's the one shot that's like, aha, I know how to play this game. It's 150 yards over the trees, bends to the right, it lands like 6 feet from the hole. Sure, you 3-putt the putt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You still hit that one shot, and that's what brings you back. And this is the same thing happens in local government is that there are many times where I will leave a meeting and I will think to myself, we did great.
Oh, yeah.
For people that I will never meet, for the 110,000 people that I represent and that voted for me, that I'll never probably actually get face to face with, that may recognize me and some event or something like that, but they don't come up and say hi, and I of course don't know them. So, but I made their life better today. And I helped them out a little bit. And so that's like I said, I hate to say it's like heroin because I don't have a real reference there, but that is that shot that keeps bringing you back. And that's exactly why I got involved. And I was really fortunate because I had I didn't spend years at this committee or this committee. It was really through the MC work and through being involved in the community that I was fortunate enough to get elected.
Yeah.
Well, and the timing was good too, because it was 2010. That was a Tea Party upheaval kind of time period, that election back then. And so the Republicans were really kind of sweeping to success here in Highlands County. And so I got to ride a little bit of that wave along with a few other folks that got elected at that time period. And, it's
Well, I
been
think
amazing.
the other thing too, and I remember voting for you, but the
Thank you.
well, and congratulations on your on
Yes, I
he's
to be
being
reelected.
reelected
Yeah.
August 18th. Of course, running unopposed helps, but I mean,
Well,
he's
that was the only reason. Well, yeah. But, yeah. So
well,
yeah,
congratulations.
I have two theories. It's either A, doing a great job. That's my theory, of course, is because of, just doing an amazing job, and therefore, why would anybody possibly run against me? My wife has a different theory. And her theory is nobody else wants the darn job. So
Sherry's pretty smart.
she's really smart about stuff like that. And unfortunately, I'm just kidding about my theory, but, if I ever do get a little bit too full of myself, which I'm not, I try not to do. I try to,
Our wives are pretty good that way.
she'll fix that. Yeah. She fixes it pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah, and Becky does the same thing. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made that decision, and then you were looking at going to the clerk of courts, and then
Right. Back in 2020.
yeah, then you got reelected in 2022, which I'm very glad for. So, I'm looking at some of the committees that you're involved in, and there are three that I thought would be interesting to talk about a little bit.
Sure.
One is the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. The other one is the Lake Istapoga Management Committee, because that lake has always been somewhat of an interesting topic.
Right.
And then one that I think is probably, from what I understand from different people in the community, one of the more hot topics, and that's the South Florida Water Management District.
Yeah. There's
Swift Mud.
Yep. There's a bunch of, well, this is actually, Southwest Florida is Swift Mud because of the
Right.
HW, but this is South Florida. And, we're, a novelty county because we're in both districts. We both have both South
Right.
Florida and Southwest Florida. So, water is clearly, with the growth that we've experienced in the state over the last, 5, 10, 20 years or so, water is becoming increasingly, not scarce, but certainly more valuable.
And the way we manage it.
Right. Absolutely. And so, we're looking at, all kinds of different options there, as far as what we can do for water quality, as well as, water storage. How can we best, because the folks to our south, they have a lot of water needs. And they'd like to take our water from us and try everything they possibly can to kind of bypass the flyover states of Highlands County and the middle part, if you will, so they can use it down towards the south. So we constantly have that battle where we're trying to make sure that we retain the water for ourselves, and it's good, as nutrient, or phosphorus free as it can be, I guess, water, before
It's having a devastating effect on the Everglades.
Right.
That whole system there. When you look at, and another thing, when I've flown for quite a few years and flown over this area to watch what's happening with the Kissimmee River and bringing it back to its natural path. And all those buffer zones are increased. I mean, I've had a couple experiences up in Wisconsin, when, they would take a look at the, Mississippi River
Mm.
and its ability to flood and raise, and do all this devastation. Well, what they realized was, we took away all the buffer zones on the edges of it where the overflow would naturally go
Sure.
and just kind of settle out. But that all got developed. So now it's a straight shot right down.
Now they can't fix
Right-
that.
right
At
down
least
the
they were
river.
able to restore on the Kissimmee the winding part of it, because that was so important versus when they took that out.
Well, and again, the chemicals and the fertilizer that wound up going into
Right.
Lake Istapoga and then into Okeechobee.
Sure.
It's crazy. So when you look at the Central Florida regional planning,
Mm-hmm.
what's a perspective on the future growth and planning, and what's your focus on that or perspective on that?
am a big believer in, of course, we've all seen it and we all know it's happening. We're seeing that compression come in from all four sides around us, really, as far as in Highlands County.
Yeah.
And we're not growing like Polk County to our north, for example. That's not happening because we don't have that infrastructure. However, if Polk is growing this large, we're the next one down. We're not that far away.
Yeah.
We're going to see some growth. We're going to see some after effect from that. And we are seeing a little bit of it. Not as much now and not as much recently because we're just seeing, growth in general with the economy has slowed down. But, we're the next one down 27. And we're seeing folks from the north. We're seeing folks as hurricanes come in, unfortunately, and storms and things like that. We see folks come in from the west and the south and even the east. So with that, we have to be thinking a little bit more regionally. And so that, Central Florida Regional is a 6-county kind of coalition, if you will, of those middle counties. You got your Hardy and your DeSoto and Glades, not Glades, excuse me, Henry and Okeechobee. And so we're trying to really just have a voice that is stronger because there's 5 or 6 of us, address the problems that come before us, whether it's a lot of times it's infrastructure and roads. Right now, we're taking a look at the impact and possible impact of data centers, because that's a real hot topic, as you know.
Sure.
There's actually a seminar coming up next month. I think it's August 4th or 6th over in Hardy County. I'll look up the date in a minute. That's going to be real important because it'll go over facts and fiction, because you hear nothing but the negatives on impact or data centers, and I get it. Trust me, there's an opportunity for a lot of negatives, but there's also different. One size doesn't fit all there either, and so
Correct.
What data centers do is there's some benefits from them depending on how it's done and depending on what kind you get. The difficulty is trying to attract the right one and have it be in the right place and have it have the least amount of impact on the neighboring properties. We don't want power lines going through our yards and all of that. So it's how you manage that is potentially going to be a real big important topic. There are no data centers, by the way. I'm going to say this now. There's no data centers currently planned for Highlands County. There's no projects that are on the radar, but we want to make sure that we as a county and we as a region are prepared for when they do start knocking on our door.
Well, we're an attractive target for development.
Sure.
And I was talking to Sarah Beth Murphy from the Economic Development Office, and just again about the growth and what it is about Highlands County that makes it so interesting to places. And she was telling us that things are coming in retail wise that they didn't ask for, that just people have discovered that looked at our demographics and say, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Again, the issue from the way she described it, and I agree, is how do we maintain sustainable growth that we can still have the quality of life we enjoy without becoming overwhelmed with the traffic. Now, what's going to happen here, and it's already started, is our beloved snowbirds are headed north to some degree. Well, actually, they're going to be coming down.
I was going to say, I think they should all be up there now. Yeah.
So, it's a little less congested, but, and don't get me wrong, we enjoy them being here. But, it's the issue of sustainable growth. And so we can maintain the quality of life. What do you see as some of the future positives that will be coming our way?
I think, as you mentioned, we're seeing growth in stuff that we're not necessarily asking for. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where we were just begging for, things to happen. What I'm starting to see is also a little more growth opportunities in housing, whether it be residential, single family homes, whether it be apartments, that type of thing. And that's been a need for a long time. So I'm hoping that all these projects come to fruition, because if they do, then we will start to have a little bit more affordable options for folks. Because so much of our demographics here on the working side are people that are working kind of frontline positions. You know, we got a lot of retail, a lot of hospitality, a lot of, you know, tourism base, and it's not huge money in that. So in addition to trying to recruit businesses and industries that are going to pay more, we definitely want to make sure that we have housing opportunities
for the workers,
for the workforce. Right. Exactly. And so, I think that there's a balance there. I'm encouraged by all the growth that's happening here at the airport. I really, really feel that, and I've said this for a decade, that I feel that the most significant growth that Highlands County is going to have is going to be out in my district, which is District 2 out here by the airport.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm really, really encouraged by that. I'm encouraged by what's happening with, in our medical field, Advent Health. I think the growth that they're having is fantastic. We're going to start seeing some real benefits there as we start to become, you know, more of a heart center for, you know, for cardiology, for recruitment of doctors, where the training, aspect facility of it, I think is going to be tremendous. I love I think one of our county's greatest assets is our college. South Florida State College, and so between the people they have there and the whole administration and everybody, I think that the programs they're putting together there are trying to address as much as possible that ever changing need. So there's a lot of pluses that we have. It's just we have to make sure that we do it kind of smart, not like maybe, you know, pick a name of an area that's kind of a nightmare now. We talked about Palm Beach. I used to live in Palm Beach Gardens area, and I don't recognize it now.
Yeah.
You know, your Orlandos and things like that. People are like, well, we don't want to become Orlando. We never will. And by the time we become even a Lakeland won't be like Lakeland is. So we'll always be about, I think somebody said once before, we're 20 years behind Lakeland. Okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that because Lakeland's kind of a nightmare sometimes too, depending on where you are. It's just, we have got to make sure that we have, you know, that we do it smart. I mean, I'll pick on something that tells you how we didn't do it smart years ago. The growth along 27 at the south end of 27, like say by the mall and further south in Sebring, you can turn right off of 27 into a driveway for IHOP or into a driveway for, you know, a tire store or whatever, or for a car dealership. Anyway, you can, a little further north on 27, there's a frontage road, and you turn off and get on the frontage road, and then the access is off the frontage road. That was a smarter way to go.
Absolutely.
Because that then takes that local traffic off of the highway. You don't have the folks that are turning right or left.
Yeah. Once you get past Walmart.
Yeah.
And you go up that way.
Yeah.
Things flow pretty quickly.
Right. So that was a mess up that happened many, many years ago. And nobody in this room had anything to do with it, but it's still, you know, unfortunately we're kind of propagating that even more so by not, you know, really kind of considering 27 is our turnpike. You know, that is our I-75. That is our
core.
That is the spine, if you will, that goes right through. And so anything we can do to mitigate the negative experience, because people lament about 27 all the time. You know, people driving 30 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour on 27.
Well, one of the things I often do is I'll take the parkway around stuff just to get up to Avon Park quicker than being on 27. Yeah. You're right. Those are the issues, and you know, you learn by your mistakes and try to make things better down the road. You know, I appreciate the time that we spent, and you know, 40 minutes have gone by like
holy cow. Yeah, that went quick. Yeah. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to talk about food.
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, because down here it says you truly enjoy mastering the pizza recipe.
Yes.
So tell me about that. How did that start?
Well, first off, I'm fat. I mean, I think it really kind of says it all, John.
Welcome to the club.
But anyway, so, but I've lost some weight, but anyway, but still not from pizza. You know, grew up in Chicago. So there's like 3 or 4 different styles of pizza in Chicago, really, really popular styles. So yeah, whether it's the thin crust or the deep dish course, which everybody knows that. So I don't want to be mean, but there isn't that here. Okay. Now there's
Yeah.
some good New York style. Don't get me wrong. There's some really good New York style. There's several good local pizza places, but you don't have that, other kind here. And so I wanted to try to make that. So I worked for years on a thin crust recipe, which I think I've got that nailed down really well now, and a deep dish recipe, which I also think I've got pretty well nailed down. And I just started, made the second version last night, as a matter of fact, Detroit style pizza.
So what's the Detroit style? I mean, I'm
Detroit
familiar
style,
with the other ones.
yeah, is Detroit style is first off, it's rectangular in shape. Okay. So it's much thicker. The actual bread is much, it's a thicker, but it's a lighter, higher hydration dough. So there's a lot more water in the dough, if you will. So it's a little fluffier. The cheese it's a combination of, well, to be completely authentic, it's a combination of what they call brick cheese, as well as mozzarella. And then you put the cheese all the way to the edges of the pan, so that at the end, it actually kind of fries a little bit in that pan.
Okay.
So you get what they call a frico, which is the caramelized cheese along the sides
Oh, wow.
a little bit. Yeah, which is so healthy. Anyway, and so, but it's weird because it goes dough, toppings, cheese, and then a couple of strips of tomato sauce or about pizza sauce on top. And that's a Detroit style pizza.
Wow.
So it cooks at a pretty high heat. I think I've been cooking it about 525 and only about 15 minutes, maybe not even about 12 to 15 minutes. So it's not like a deep dish. That'll go 30, 40 minutes. That takes a while because it got cooked inside there. It's a heavy pizza.
Have you ever considered or how you would share that beyond the family?
People ask me all the time for the exact recipes and stuff like that. And so in addition to, constantly tweaking it and, upgrading it, I thought about maybe doing something at some point. I really still think I have a large enough little, amount of room behind the house. I keep telling my wife, I said, if we just put the drive-through here. And she then usually hits me. You've got just a playful slap, if you will. But yeah, no, so there'll be no drive-through, I don't think, but we're inviting some people over. I did a fun thing, where I went to the VFW post and we made pizzas, at the VFW post. And so I'm available to do that. Occasionally I have to drag my boys in to help me go, my sous chefs. And so where we do like a little pizza night thing. And so I'm looking at possibly doing, pizzas at the house, maybe even as a fundraiser for some local causes.
Well, I think that's something, obviously it's a passion. It's a lot of fun. And if you can keep it fun and not become a burden or, a task that's not as much fun, then that's great. I mean, I think, it's similar to a podcast I just did the other day on, Chez Marie where, with the waffle place.
Oh yeah.
And the similar type of thing.
Belgian waffles. Yeah. Yeah.
They have a recipe that they've been using. It's close to 100 years old, 60 years old, a family recipe. And it's proven to be well received. And again, he was a ER nurse. And, yeah, when he retired from doing that, he and Millie decided, well, let's go back to our family history with waffles and see what happens. Very successful.
Well, and it's a great, and by now, yeah, I've had those waffles. They're really good. It is for me anyway. It's kind of like, it's a stress reliever, because between, the day job and the board of county commissioners and all the committees you mentioned, there's enough stress to go around for sure. You're super, super busy, but I love to be able to kind of just kick back and be able to do that and play with it and get it really right. And I get a little OCD. I'm measuring grams and things, but it's okay. I mean, it's
yeah, but it is something you really enjoy.
It is. And in addition to travel and family and doing all that fun stuff like that, I love pizzas. It's a lot cheaper than a cocaine habit. Not again that I've ever tried that. But I'm just saying, it's a lot of fun to do. Kids seem to enjoy it. They're not enjoying this new dough formulation that much because it makes your hands real sticky. So we're trying to work on that a little bit, but we're getting through it.
Oh, that's fine. Well, I have one other question for you because you were from northern Chicago area.
Yes.
What was the community that you?
Lake Forest. Born and raised in Lake Forest.
No.
Well, born in Waukegan.
No. Well, I was. One of my first jobs out of college was in southern Wisconsin at Williams Bay and Lake Geneva. So
Yeah.
we had an outdoor ed program that I was the assistant director of. So a lot of kids from the Lake Forest area would come up there for a
Okay.
week at a
Yeah.
time.
We used to go to field trips when I was in grade school at Milwaukee Zoo.
Yeah.
And we would go down there. Did you ever go to the Milwaukee Zoo?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Milwaukee Zoo was great. Remember Samson?
Yeah.
Samson the gorilla.
Yeah.
Legendary gorilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
And he
amazing.
enjoyed the attention.
He actually, yeah. Oh yeah. He would ham it up. He was great.
Yeah.
He was this huge gorilla. And we went there one time, and I remember this for sure. And of course he's got this massive, enclosure. And so everybody would just stand there. And of course he was posing. He was walking around. He would stroll back and forth through this back and forth. And apparently it was a fairly new enclosure. And so anyway, so he was going back and forth, and he literally looked up, looked at everybody, looked to left, looked to right, and went like this with his fist and just swung, and he just put the crack down the glass. And you've never seen so many people just running and screaming. And of course, all the rangers, if you will, they're on the radios and going back and forth. He then, after he did that, he went back to his little spot where the scale was in his little seat, and just sat there and watched the commotion. And I was not one of the ones that ran away, because I was, about four deep, and I can still see over people. And so I was able to just stand there as people just kind of ran out away from me. So now it was just me and Samson and a few other folks. And
he was enjoying it all.
He was just watching it, and I just watched it very amusedly. And but he was a legend. I loved Samson. He was great.
Well, I have one other question for you.
Sure.
Are you a Bears fan?
You know it.
Okay.
Lake Forest is, by the way, the home of the training camp of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And I was in Lake Forest in the mid 80s. Which, by the way, would of course be the Super Bowl Shuffle and Walter Payton.
Yep.
And I pumped gas for Walter Payton when I was
in the fridge and all those guys.
And Jim McMahon bought me and my friends some cheese dogs, and I played basketball with Dan Hampton and back in Lake Forest. Yeah, that was an amazing time period. But yeah, you got to be a Bears fan. Bears.
Well, that puts me at odds, because I'm a diehard Packer fan.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I mean, I follow the Packers.
Okay, for so many years, you guys.
Lombardi came from the Giants and went over to Green Bay.
You owned us. I mean, seriously, you owned us. And I just could not stand the Packer fans are fine, but Packers themselves just owned us, because you had Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers. It's like, God, could you guys get a crappy quarterback, please? Because it was usually get like these Hall of Fame legends, and we're struggling. We don't have a quarterback.
I think what's going to happen this year, I see Chicago taking the division.
I don't know. We did own Green Bay last year. We did have a couple of great games with Green Bay, some absolutely magical games, and we didn't quite get as far as we wanted to, but I mean, we also didn't deserve to get as far as we did. So hopefully your
coach at this point has got everybody on the same page, and your quarterback is starting to listen to Johnson.
Yep.
And realize that he needs to get within the program that he's developing and the structure, and he's put the pieces around him. I quite frankly don't see any of the other three teams, the Detroit, Green Bay, or Minnesota, having any chance of overcoming the Bears. So the Bears they're going to surprise a lot of people.
I don't know. I hope you're right. I mean, like I said, I'm being a Chicago fan. Of course, I got my Cubs who are playing really well. I got the Bears who are back on the upswing again. Blackhawks are struggling, but they just got Patrick Kane back from Detroit Red Wings. So it's more of a nostalgia kind of thing, but he'll still be fun to watch. So hope springs eternal for Chicago sports.
Well, what we'll have to do is we'll figure out what we want to wager, but we'll have to have some sort of a gentleman's wager.
We can do a pizza. I'll do one of frozen par-baked pizzas.
Okay.
I'll do a pizza on my side, like a deep dish. I'll do that if you want. By the way, that bad boy's about 7.5 to 8 pounds. I mean, it's a good sized pizza. Okay. We'll do that on my side, and you can do a car.
You know anybody I can get one from?
I do actually. I think I know that. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I like it.
Because we have two opportunities.
Yes, we do.
We have two opportunities, and
possibly three if we meet in the playoffs like we did last year.
Well, you never know. I'm not all that confident in the Packers this year. but we'll see. But I think the Bears are going to go. Anyway,
Sounds good.
it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. We didn't get a chance to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but we skimmed the surface. It was
Well,
awesome.
I think as many of these conversations are, it's the first of many. Because as things develop, as more things come onto the plate of the county development and that sort of thing, you're going to be right in the middle of it. So why not
Sure.
talk to the source and to what's going on? Because that's what we want to do with our podcast, our community engagement project, is to keep people informed, give them a place to go and find out what's going on. And we're going to do that. So, folks, thanks for tuning in today to Flightlines, the stories behind the stories. And go to our website, flightlines.com, so you can see where different things are and what's coming up and that sort of thing. So have a great day, and God bless.